This episode is supported by battleships.com.
Humanity has been driven from Earth, but now it's time to take it back. Join the Reconquest and fight the Scourge on the Drop Zone Commander Hub at beastsofwar.com. Become a general of mighty armies at the Kings of War Hub. Take command of elves, dwarves and orcs in this game of massed fantasy combat on beastsofwar.com.
Good morning, welcome to The Weekender. I'm Warren from Beasts of War, and this morning I'm joined by Ben on the screen, Justin in the chair, and another Az in the chair.
Who are you? Sorry, I don't recognise you.
I just caught that one.
Oh, do you get it?
Sorry,
you're lucky.
Fortunately, I get it.
You're lucky. It's not a bear Az in the chair. So it's like
no. Whenever we get him in for Halloween, we have to do a bear as.
we could, and if he's scratching, he'd be a bear Az scratcher. So it's.
I'm on board for that.
This is our 7th anniversary show of the 7th anniversary of the launch of beastsofwar.com.
Absolutely epic.
And if I'm right, it's our 192nd episode of The Weekender.
100
Away from 200. Wow.
Woo, 200th episode coming up.
What are we going to do for that?
We're going to make sure it's a shit show. Yeah, welcome to your morning, I was going to say your morning injection of all things gaming. I could get away with that, yeah, okay. Welcome to your morning injection of all things gaming. On what day was it? It was Tuesday past 4th of July. Not only is it Independence Day for our family over in the States,
Small holiday,
but it's beastsofwar.com's birthday. So it's it was very nice for everyone who wished us as a community a happy birthday. It was absolutely fabulous. Right, kicking off the show last week, we had Hobby Night Live. We switched up the format. It was really us and you guys as close as we can get now. You know, because we were all kind of sitting there. Your chat and stuff is coming up. You're hobbying, we're hobbying, and we're working on our projects. You guys are working on your projects. It was fabulous. It was a great 3 hours. It was the most fun that we've had in ages. So much so that we were sitting going, I don't know if we can wait for the next one. It was that much fun.
I don't know if you wanted to finish. You all wanted to keep going and start painting. I'm halfway through a model here. Let's just keep going with it.
Dude, whenever it got to the end, I was just like, I'm happy to keep going here. I don't care what time it is. I'm having fun. I'm painting. I'm enjoying it. Well, I did just paint green all night.
Yeah. We had an absolute blast. If you haven't seen it, it's still up on beastsofwar.com. So it's a full 3 hours of Hobby Night Live. We cover all sorts of things. There's great hobby tips and stuff in there from the community as they're directing us, and it was just great. However, Hobby Night Live doesn't finish whenever we finish. It just kind of kicks off the weekend for folk that are getting involved in their hobby. So we have 4 interesting continuations, 4 interesting projects to look at, and then a 5th one who's going to win a Hobby God bag. Give me the Hobby God bag. This Hobby God bag, this is it. The only way that you can get this bag is by being a Hobby God from the Hobby Night Live. So it's the Hobby God bag. You cannot just get one of these bags.
Really? Because now I have one.
What? No! You're not having a Hobby Night bag! Right.
Possession, 9/10 of the law.
Yes. Somebody was creeping up on me there. Right. Okay, Ben, let's kick it off.
Yeah.
Who's first?
So looking through some of the honourable mentions that I picked out from the thread over the last sort of week or so, the first one is tmsmnns, or tmsmnns, as he's also known. tmsmnns, and these are his Eldar Wild Riders. So if you're familiar with the Exodites from the world of the Eldar, then these are the kind of creatures that you would have seen. So the Eldar flying around on their sort of dinosaurs and stuff. So this is a pretty awesome sort of kit bash of his that he's put together here. He's got a fantastic show on our website as well called Menace Mashups, where he does his all all sorts of things with green stuff and things. And this is almost like a little bit of a continuation of it into some of his projects for Warhammer 40,000. And I thought they looked very, very cool.
Man, I love the way the reins are twisted to really look like the rope, the way he's modelled the holding of it and just sort of yanking back on it. It's amazing.
See, Thomas loves his green stuff work. He loves to just make things from nothing, and he's really, really great
They look so natural. The way he's posed them looks properly like they're angling and steering them around.
Yeah.
I think
very
they
cool.
are absolutely beautiful. What an amazing... I cannot wait to see this. He did fire up a post in the community saying, okay, I'm going to give this 40k thing a crack again. Yeah. It's been a while. He did some amazing orc looted Tyranids that we are the proud owners of in here. They're part of the orc army.
Oh, right, okay.
So we have orc carnifexes that have been looted by, or we have Tyranid carnifexes that have been looted by orcs.
Yeah.
And you have orcs riding around on the back of these carnifex. This just looks awesome. I cannot wait to see it. We'll be keeping a close eye on that, so hopefully Thomas will continue posting about that. Right, we have Janus 1004 with his Imperial Romans. Oh,
yeah, so
nice.
This is one of the projects that he was picking up. He'd wanted to get stuck into some of the Romans and things that he picked up from Victrix. And so here's a sort of little bit of a documentation of some of the process that he went through over the weekend and throughout the rest of the week as well, sort of coming up with the schemes and stuff that he was working on. And I think they've turned out very nicely, even at this stage at the moment. I think there's a few bits and pieces here and there that he needs to finish off and stuff. But, you know, it's a good thing showing off the progress that you make in about a week or so. You know, getting stuck into stuff from Hobby Night Live and stuff. Yeah.
So you know what? We've talked about it in the previous weekenders that sort of I've been on. New to painting, get back into modelling again for the first time. And when the guys in the community, stuff like that, start to end, very quick snapshots of each individual stage, that means a ton to me. You know, that would show, because that helps me gain so much, give me examples of what I can learn from. And I sat at lunch today looking through that going, I want to paint. I want to paint, I want to paint, I want to paint. Just like going, look, he makes it look so easy.
But it's nice seeing the step-by-steps, because it's for many of us, yes, there's the techniques between them, but even just knowing the stages is such a great thing to have. I love it, and that is exactly what Hobby Night Live is about. It's about sharing and caring
for all levels. Everyone can gain something from coming together and just painting all at the same time.
Next up, we had to have some Primaris in here somewhere. We've got some Primaris Dark Angels from Laughing Boy.
Yeah, so he painted up these. He started them on the Friday night with us, and he's been working on throughout the weekend and throughout the week as well. As you can see, they've come together really nicely here. He was warring at different points about whether or not he was going to try some freehand work on some of the emblems and things. I think he decided in the end to just go with the transfers and save himself the hassle. Yeah. They still look absolutely fantastic. But he's done some really good work here, bringing the greens out, and then a very, very nice job on the highlighting as well, which looks absolutely fantastic and really brings these models to light. And it almost sort of shows you what you can achieve with this armor, because you know there's a lot of very, very big block colors on a lot of Space Marines, and with a few sort of touches here and there, they really shine on the tabletop, which is great.
I've got to say, scroll down just a little bit, right? Right, I'm going to bring this up full screen for you guys at home, but look at that Primaris over there, right? That very far one on your left. Oh, he just looks like that dog's bollocks. He's just marching forward and just killing everything in front. I love it. It's such an understated pose, the walking forward with a weapon. But man, dear, these Primaris Marines are heartbreakingly good, though, aren't they? It's because you look at them now and you just think, we look back, because we have a lot of Space Marines here, and I have beautiful armies that I'm just dying to see come out and do their 8th edition thing. But you just know that every one of them, if they come up against an army with any Primaris in it, they're going to be weeping in their helmets. They're so much better than me! It's not fair. Honestly, for Jez Goodwin to produce those, it must have felt like sticking a knife through the heart of his own firstborn. To see that. It's so iconic though, and then they're just so much more iconic now. It's like, it is a beautiful piece of design. Right. On the running order, I was about to read, we've got Shattered Pizza, but it's Shattered Plaza by Ollie P.
Yeah, so this is one of the big sort of, I guess you call them the Realm of Battle boards or the Strike Zone boards or whatever that Games Workshop do.
Yes.
This one's called the Shattered Plaza. And as you can see, this one's coming together really nicely. It's something a little bit different. It's a little bit of terrain, which I thought was really cool to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really nice showing off some of the work he's done here to bring out all the different parts and all the details and things. You know, the rubble strewn everywhere and all the details inside the little plaza in the middle. And then, of course, you've got the little bits of spot colour there as well from some of the sort of ruined oil cans and stuff like that being thrown around at the same time too. So it'd be very, very nice to see what this looks like when it's finally got some models on it as well, and people are gaming across it in the grimdark future of the 41st millennium. So
yeah, it's what I'm loving about Hobby Night Live is the variety.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just the eclectic variety that the community brings together. You know, on any given Hobby Night Live, we're looking at somebody's going to be doing Space Marines. Somebody else will be doing Greeks or something. You know, it's just incredible. You've got terrain builds, and then you'll have people doing scratch builds, and that leads me very nicely onto the winner of the Hobby God bag. Give me the bag. Give me the bag. I need the bag. I need the bag. I need the bag. This is it. This is it. This is the moment where we're going to give the Hobby God bag. Okay. Right, Ben, who won it?
So the winner of this was the very proud winner. He should be very, very happy with all the stuff he's done. This is Damon from the thread. Now, he started off building some fantastic World War II ships, and he started with proper blueprints of these ships and built them up using resin casting and all sorts of different things. Lots and lots of scratch-built parts as well. And as you can see, they've come together exceptionally beautifully, and I can't wait to see what these look like when they've actually got a little bit of paint down on them. But as you can see, for something that's taken him a week or so to get working and sort of build on as he's been going through with the project and stuff, I think this just looks fantastic, and it was great to reward somebody for some real sort of hard work with their models and stuff.
Do we know anything about the game or whatever that he's planning on using them with, or?
I'm not sure of the game he's planning to use them with, I'm afraid. I'd have to find out a little bit more. Maybe someone can tell us in the comments, or Damon himself can tell us in the comments what he's trying to sort of aim for with this one. But it looks very, very fantastic, and obviously it's all sort of like World War II themed, the Pacific theatre and stuff. So maybe been a little bit inspired by what Ariskity has been doing and stuff with his article series at the same time. So.
Okay,
absolutely incredible.
Very well
amazing,
deserved.
isn't it? Okay, guys, well done. Thank you to everyone that participated on the Hobby Night Live on the Friday night. It was amazing fun. We had an absolute blast with you guys. It was brilliant. Right, we're going to take a quick second to tell you about some hubs. When we get back, it's time to look at the news.
Greek mythology rages to life in Mythic Battles Pantheon. Become a god and command heroes and monsters in a battle for Olympus at beastofwar.com. Take control of armies from the 5 kingdoms of Araucania and vie for the throne of the ancient king in Wrath of Kings. Master your skills on the battlefield over on beastofwar.com.
Okay, Ben. Right. Time for some news. What's going on in the world?
So first up, we've got a little bit of a preview of some stuff that's coming up for the Legio Custodes, which are sort of the guards of the Emperor and stuff in the world of Warhammer 40,000. And this was stuff that was shown off, I think it was at sort of Warhammer Fest earlier in the year as well. But we're starting to see some of the stuff popping up in the Forge World store at the same time now. And these are the Aquilon Terminators, which are going to be sort of like a mix of the old style and the new style of armors that we've been seeing in the likes of the artwork and all the books and the stories and stuff from the world of Warhammer 40,000. Brought together to help add to the Legio Custodes as a force, which is now becoming a lot more of a big prospect for you to actually start working on, which I thought was fantastic. So if you look through some of the models, we've got some absolutely brilliant looking stuff here. I say brilliant. A lot of people, some people are quite divided on these. Some people don't quite like the sort of more archaic and gothic look of them. I think it's very, very in keeping, and it kind of reminds me of exactly kind of the aesthetic that you imagine from the Legio Custodes, where they have this almost sort of like ornate and like a Baroque feel to them, which I thought was fantastic. So they almost feel like works of art too, which I thought was good.
I think
the other thing as well, which I quite like, is there's almost like it feels like there's almost like a little bit of a hint of like the chaos about them, and I think it might just be sort of like the like long strings of like ponytail hair and sort of things that they've got going on there, and maybe sometimes the style of the weapons, but just something about them almost speaks of like a little bit of sort of like heretical side to it as well. So maybe you could even come at this from like some fallen Legio Custodes, then sort of working some of the chaos side of things, which I thought would be pretty cool. But yes, very cool models in my opinion anyway.
I've got like 2 confessions here. One, to see the eagle on the fire pikes and those, the eagle's head at the top of the flamethrower, absolutely gorgeous. And I think that's a normal thing to notice. The other thing I noticed when I looked at these though, this is going to sound really weird, but the shin pads.
Yes.
Look at the detail on those. Like even as you go around the side of them, those kind of like vine that kind of ekes around, that's gorgeous.
Are they called filigree? What's the name of that kind of...
Filigree,
yeah. Yeah, it's called filigree. Yeah, these models are beautiful.
They are gorgeous.
We were just talking about the Primaris having those kind of big blank spaces where you can work it in light, but these...
Go in a bit closer for them for me, please, Justin. Oh, look at that. Mm-hmm. I love the... Ben, is there a name for that Roman style tabardy kind of a thing with it made out of the strips of leather?
There is definitely a word for it, and I did used to know it, but now I don't.
Okay.
I'm sure I'll work it out.
Roman willy covers, right?
Wait, they all have like 4 willies?
These are the Custodes, man. They are 4 times the man that we are. It's like
You see, here's the thing, Ben. You say they feel chaosy, but for me, it's the Chaos guys would have got their armor from these guys. Their armor is that more archaic style, so it's actually Chaos echoing these guys rather than the other way around.
That's true. Yeah. The thing I like about this as well is it almost brings to the fore a little bit about what I think people like about Warhammer 40,000, in that it's sci-fi, but it's not really sci-fi. It's actually sort of like just like souped up fantasy. And I think these kind of guys in their huge ornate armor just sort of really feels that sort of background to it that I really loved about stuff. Where it's actually in essence space elves and space knights and stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the thing that really gets me with these.
Right.
So.
Between you, Justin, and maybe Az can chip in here as well. I've got some questions. Right. The Legio Custodes.
Yes.
They're the gold guys, right?
Yes.
Right. So they're the guys. They're like the Emperor's personal guard.
They're the bodyguards. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, bear with me here. They were there in the 30K in the pre-heresy era.
Yes.
Okay. And they were involved in the defense of Terra and stuff like that, I would imagine. They're very active. You can play them as a force within 30K. Do they have army lists and stuff like that as published by Forge World?
Yes, they do. They've got lists that you can get into for Forge World, so you can play them in 30K, and you can also play them in 40K as well.
That was my next question. Do they have a list in the 40K universe today? Are they in the index books that we got?
I can't tell you for sure whether or not they're in the index books. I know they had army lists that came out when they had sort of like the smaller box sets. I'm not sure whether or not they carried over into the indexes, or the indices, sorry, for the new edition. Okay. I will try and find out and put it into the comments.
Yeah, list in the comments because this could be. Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit more about this later in the show when we reach our main topic, which is the way the 40K the way the 40K background has shifted, that suddenly allows us so much more scope for designing these kinds of hybrid old new armies. And this is one for me because I like a bit of bling. Okay, I like a little bit of bling, probably more than I should really admit to.
How about this?
Oh, what is that?
That's their dreadnought.
They got a dreadnought?
Yeah, so their dreadnought is called the Telemon Dreadnought, and it is like the greatest honor to be interred in one of these things. They are bigger, they are tougher, they have more weapons, they are ancient.
Let me just stop you there. It's not just called the Telemon. It's called the Telemon. That is so bling. It's unreal. Look at it. There's a beautiful non-metallic metal paint job on that as well. I would assume that that's non-metallic because the shading is so over the top brilliant.
It actually looks like true metallic metal painting.
Do you think so?
Yeah, it looks like a mix. They've used non-metallic metal techniques with real metal paints.
There you go.
I can also now deliver you some news. The things that hang around between the legs are called Baltier. So there you go.
Volunteer.
I preferred our name.
And, and
Not
the Legio
Willy
Custodes-
Guards. What?
And the Legio Custodes, so the Talons of the Emperor,
Yeah.
are also in Indices 2 for the Imperium. So if you want to get those, you can get those from there.
Right.
There you go.
So I can have the ultimate golden army.
Yeah, like my
Yes.
very first army was. 'Cause whenever I did my first army, they were all gold.
Yeah, no, but this
Another level.
This is just incredible. So Ben, we're going totally off running. Who needs running orders these days? How do I go about building a golden army? Can you just give me a starting point? Which box set was it? Prospero or was it the Calth that had had these guys in it?
Calth, I believe. Well, no. Calth had the Contemptor pattern dreadnoughts, so it probably would be Prospero.
What had happened was in Burning of Prospero, you got some of the units. So you got a unit of the Legio Custodes, then you got the Sisters of Silence as well. But those were then moved over into their own box sets. So you can buy the individual box sets for the units over on the Games Workshop web store. And there was also a box set called Talons of the Emperor. I think that was the name of it, which came with a unit of the Legio Custodes, a unit of the Sisters of Silence. It also came with a Heresy pattern dreadnought, I think. So it came with a Contemptor. And there was also a Rhino in there as well, so you could start to build up the force. And then, of course, from that stage onwards, you can go to Forge World, and Forge World do a lot of the characters. They do more vehicles. They've got the jet bikes that the Legio Custodes use, not just normal bikes as well.
What?
And there's all sorts of other things thrown in at the same time too.
Right. Okay. All right, I'm sold. That will be for a future episode. Okay. As I think we will get our heads together on this. It's a gold bling army for me. These are the guards of the Emperor. What I really want these for is later on we have AJ coming in, and myself and Az and Justin and AJ are going to be getting together to do some let's plays. Very narrative let's plays. That's our gig. That's what we love. But what I really want is a detachment of these guys, okay, that we can basically just ally in to be used for retrieving something or the defense of the Emperor. I want to take our battles closer to the Emperor now. I think we can start.
Okay.
You're wanting to go to Holy Terra. That's a pilgrimage right there.
I think we could go on a pilgrimage because there's no reason why we couldn't go into the Sol system now and start to explore Mars, start to explore Terra, start doing narrative around some of the more. We know that the Cadia gates have fallen.
Yeah.
We know they're in. There will be forward units that will manage to sneak through.
Well, no part of the Imperium
chaos
is safe now.
Exactly, and this is why we can really start to explore stuff, and this gives us a brilliant opportunity to get these golden awesomeness guys included in our tabletops. Like I haven't seen bling like that since the Sanguinor and his dudes.
Oh, let's not remind people of that video.
So awesome. Okie dokie. That dreadnought, by the way, can we just bring up one more picture of that, because that is just a sight to behold. What a beautiful, beautiful dreadnought. Part of me is absolutely dreading going onto the Forge World site to see how much that thing costs, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say whatever it costs, it looks worth it, because it is just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay, right, we were talking about the indices. However, we are now already getting ready to move past the indices.
Quicker than I thought, yeah.
It was very, very quick. We knew something was going. They certainly are a lot further on than I thought that they would be. I'm hearing talk of, is it 10 indices or 10 codices this year, Ben, we're expecting?
Yeah, so there's meant to be 10 codices this year, so they'll start to sort of churn them out over the next couple of months or so. They're going to be dealing with the first four anyway that have been detailed are the Space Marines, as you might imagine.
Yeah.
There's also the Death Guard, makes sense. They were both in Dark Imperium. There's also Chaos Space Marines on a whole, and also the Grey Knights as well. So there's a lot of big, heavy power armor happening over the next couple of months or so.
Let me just stop you there. So we're getting your vanilla Space Marines, okay?
Yep.
So that'll be your Ultramarines, your Imperial Fists. Those guys should all be in there. You're getting your Grey Knights, so we have a good anti-heresy kind of thing going on. And then on the Chaos side, we're getting your vanilla Chaos one, so that's your Black Legion, so on and so forth. And then we're getting Death Guard.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And then from that point on, this sort of brings us to one of the other aspects of this that was quite interesting, is that they're going to start to do a lot more of the sub-faction stuff again.
Yeah.
So what we used to see with, the likes of the supplementary codices for the likes of Dark Angels and Blood Angels, Space Wolves, we'll tend to see the same kind of thing happening again with this. That also means we'll start to see some more of the units and the sort of more factions and armies that didn't really get that treatment in the last editions and stuff, getting the same thing. So, for example, the Death Guard, they're obviously now getting their own codices. Maybe we'll start to see something coming out for some of the more sort of individual Eldar Craft worlds as well, which would be quite interesting too. But yeah, these are going to be coming out over the next couple of months. It doesn't sort of supersede the indices in so many ways, in that the indices are still there as a stopgap for you and stuff like that, and the stats are probably going to stay pretty much around the same sort of area. Probably not too much is going to change. Just the stuff on the special rules side seems to be the case with these anyway. So you'll get a lot more sort of special rules for your armies. You'll get some sort of like battle tactics and stuff like that. Some ways of forming up your armies as well in different ways too. But yeah, some codices to look forward to, especially if you're an Imperial player or a Chaos player. So yeah.
I am going to have to wait to see these, because I'm looking at this list.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing any stat lines being mentioned on this list
here. You've got background, you've got army special rules, you've got unique stratagems, relics of battle, warlord traits, psychic powers, and tactical objectives, and then your sub-faction rules.
Yeah, so there's nothing there about the actual stats of the characters.
It would say data sheets, you'd think.
Something like that.
Interesting.
We'll have to wait till we have them in their hand.
There could be a couple of things there, okay? We could just be going completely conspiracy, and we're looking for every little thing. Maybe in workshop they were going, well, it's obvious we're going to put them in. Why waste a good graphic on something that is going to be in it? There is no. I hope, that the stats are going to be in it, because there's no way they're going to make us start flicking through an index and a codex. That's absurd. It's. I'm wondering though, if the stats will stay the same, or will the stats
they've already released an FAQ tweaking some stats. Actually, they've already errated some stuff. It's very small amounts. It's about a page and a half currently, and so I think they're already ahead of that game. But I think generally it's
I would hazard a guess. If you're going to do it, you do it right. If you're going to bring out a codices, you say, right, that codex, that's it. Anything that was written before now no longer counts. It's all in there. Okay, and give them the flexibility to change up the stats. Yeah, you can do the whole power creep thing, but let's be honest, the power creep is half the fun, right? It's it is more often than not why we go and gravitate towards new armies, because it can do new cool shit, and we like that. It's something that's fun to experiment with. What I really want to see, I don't know how feasible this is for workshop. I know that units, box sets that you buy now come with the cards in it. I would love it if they sold big decks of cards, with all the unit stats and stuff like that on. Because I'm still
a data sheet pack.
I'm still at the point where I'd love to actually put the cards down in front of me with some great art and swizzy stuff on it. Just so I can kind of see what my army's doing and
it's a good way to army build as well, literally to lay it out in front of you.
Well, this is it. It's so much as the codexes and stuff are nice. Whenever you're playing the game, I'm not a particular fan of swizzing back and forth through the rule books. It would be nice if they were able to cardify what we're seeing, that they could actually go down and you could play that way.
Yeah.
Funny, one of the things I actually like from that image, so you guys can keep me right here, just because obviously new to 8th edition for me, first 40k in a while, but the unique stratagems. So every single faction is going to have their own little way to spend their command points or to sort of go about customizing. So I might have a TIE army, and I might particularly be able to choose some stratagems to suit my style of play. If I'm going to go with an attack wing, I'm going to go with battalion. That excites me a lot. Seeing how that's evolved since 7th edition, and kind of how they're going to give you options to tailor your army outside of just building your list. So what stratagems, what relics you're going to include, that actually excites me a lot.
Well, this is where you go down there's two modes of thought here. One is you centralize all of your special rules, and you give them all the common names, okay? So whenever I'm playing you and I mention a special rule, it's the same special rule as your special rule, okay? That's great, because it makes for very effective gaming, and it makes for a very clean rule set, okay? What it can do, though, is it can sometimes stifle the narrative aspect of a particular army versus another army, because they're calling the special rules the same thing. The flip side of that is, and this is where I'm keeping an eye on this, is the main issue I had with 7th edition was that the rules had got so complicated that it started to feel a bit like a quagmire trying to run through it. So going down all these special rules and very specialist things based around particular armies is fine when there's not just so many armies, okay? Where it can have the potential to be overbearing, though, and that's where I'm kind of hoping that it doesn't, because you've got a game that's so big, right? Whenever you do a massive update like this, it can come on very strong. Now, so far it's been great. The indices have been brilliant. Loved flicking through the indices. I'm very happy with the new rules. There's no doubt about it. It's still 40k. If you didn't like 40k, the core of what 40k was, I'm not sure.
If one of the things you didn't like about 40k was the slowness, that's now gone.
No, it's still.
It's not slow. It's not slow anymore.
It's still 40k.
It is still 40k, but it's faster 40k. Which was my biggest issue with the older editions, was how slow it had gone.
Okay, I will say it's faster 40k. I'll not say it's fast.
But then your concern comes in and say if we start getting too many custom rules.
Where the custom rules can start to come in is that every person you play, every game is like learning the game all over again.
Yeah, that's bad.
Okay? Well, it's not bad. It's
challenging.
If the game is quick enough, it can be quite interesting. But remember, we're dealing with a range that has thousands of codes now, okay? Like there's so much variety of stuff, and it can be quite a task if every time you go to play the game it feels like the first time you're playing the game. Now the core rules have been streamlined, okay? But I don't know, people may say I'm mad, maybe I need to give it a few more goes, but I wouldn't say the game is fast. The game is still very much
faster.
It's faster, but it's still I go, you go.
Yes.
If we still get up into the big points, if we start going beyond the 2000 and stuff like that, there is still a fair amount of waiting around. There is still a fair amount of watching a lot of my badly deployed stuff getting utterly decimated because I've deployed it wrong. Then for it to come to my turn one, and I'm going, well, let's see what I have left.
At least it didn't run away.
There's still a fair chunk of that in it. The Horde armies, I'm starting to see more opportunities for the Horde armies.
Not really.
I'm seeing things where the vehicles themselves are going into combat and then can't fire when they're in a combat.
Yeah, but they can leave combat if they so choose. And if they have the fly ability, they're fine.
Yeah, and if they don't?
If they don't, they just leave combat.
Essentially,
they can still
lose
leave combat. You're not locked.
Basically.
Yeah, you're not locked in.
Yeah, but
but
I'm really looking forward to my NIDs on this one because I fast forward all of my little big blobs of termagants
with crap leadership,
right? Yeah, but I stick them into your Land Raider, and I can take it out a turn.
Yeah, but they have to get to my Land Raider first. Here's the thing: the way morale has changed, so that whenever you've lost X number of units, say you have a unit of say 20 termagants, right?
Yeah.
Let's say I kill 7 of those in a turn. I have a decent round of shooting. You now have to take a leadership test. Let's say your leadership's 8. Whatever you roll above...
That's quite high for a termagant.
Let's just say it's 8, just for the sake of argument. I don't know the exact stat. But whatever you roll over the 8 is how many extra models you lose from that unit.
All right, yeah.
So those big blob units are going to start to really shrink really quickly. So you might be able to lock me down for a time. Yeah. But you're going to be taking wither and fire the whole way. This is the shooting man's game now.
Yeah?
I would say so. From what I've seen of it.
It's still so early days. You're still exploring.
There's a lot of different things being said, because I interestingly don't think it's... I think now the fact that you can deep strike and you're not going to vary, you're going to come in within 9 inches and you know in your charge, if you roll a 9 on that charge roll, you're in there. I think the potential threat of a charge now is actually more so. And Overwatch is still Overwatch, but it's not that bad. And I've heard things, people liking the transport rules. I mean, I know when we've been playing, we've seen how good like the Fire Wars can be if they get in up close. But I think the versatility and the fact that everyone's kind of chatting about the different options, what's effective and what's broken, is good. It shows that there's variety and people are having different experiences, and that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
Well, the arms race is on now. as with every edition, every single war game, the arms race has begun. Because you and your mate, you'll get your starter forces. Oh, you added a predator. I need something to beat that. Oh, you added something to beat my predator. I need something to beat that.
Yeah.
So that's going to.
Well, we're about to find 10 codices in 1 year is an awful lot.
Yep.
And for those of us that still hanker after the old, well, I buy them all. That way, I can get a feel for all of the armies. We're going to struggle now. We're maybe going to have to get used to the fact that there's going to be a lot more fog of war than what we had previously been used to.
Although here's the last thing for the special rules. So what I'm seeing at the minute is the special rules I've seen so far, they seem to thread through armies more than actually make this unit special, that unit differently special, that unit differently special.
Yeah.
It becomes an overall theme for the army for its special rule.
Yeah.
Which makes life a little easier rather than having 10 different units with 10 different special rules.
Yeah, well, that's interesting.
Yeah, very much so.
That's interesting. If that's what we're starting to see, then that will play into the whole synergies thing that has made Age of Sigmar quite special, actually, in how it works out. Ben, I've heard a couple of as you're preparing to talk. Have you got something to enlighten us with here, man?
I was going to say on the topic of people, in the olden days, maybe they would have bought all the codexes and things like that. I think nowadays in the modern era, it's not so much of a big thing because, say, you play Space Marines, you just need to buy the Space Marine Codex because you can get so much of the stuff that you want to find out from forums, from videos, from wiki style things as well now. If it's background or anything you want to know about, you can usually find it out by just talking to people. And so maybe instead of people just collecting all the books together and going through it like mining it, tournament elite style, it can be sort of more of a community thing, and you can talk about it with people and learn about things from other armies. Sure, maybe you're going to have some surprises, and that fog of war effect, probably might hit you. But hopefully, you're not going to be playing against people that are going to be, douchey about it. Hopefully, the people you're going to play against are going to explain what things do and stuff, and because this is going to be new to everybody. So hopefully this will be more of a drive towards a community sort of engagement with the world, the background, the rules, and just exploring things together as a group.
I'm going to struggle not to buy them just for the art.
And the background stories in there.
He's just a beautiful guy. Isn't he just lovely? There's two things that you forgot. What? One...
People are people.
Yeah, we are going to play assholes. They are out there, Ben. They are out there. We are going to end up playing them. Two, we are all anal collectors.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are all anal collectors.
That's so shiny.
If we only have this many of this many codices on our shelf, every time we're in our rooms or wherever, it's going to be going. You don't have all of me. Shut up. You don't have all of me! Shut up! You don't have all of me! Shut up! Right?
I have had that with novel series. I have went hunting for weeks for, say, that one book that I'm missing from a collection of stories, just so I have it.
Yeah. Never underestimate the collector's gene.
It goes right back to Mr. Men books. They used to write it on the side of the books.
Oh.
And you had to have them, otherwise the picture didn't complete.
Exactly.
If you were missing one, there's like a black line gap there. From a child, I've been bred into it.
Magazines picked up on that, so suddenly you started to get magazines on the spines when you had them all.
Yep,
in
DVDs.
a picture. DVDs started doing that. The guys that do the part works for the books and things like that they all picked up on that. Never underestimate the analness that collectors have.
I love part works are one of those things that so annoy me. Oh look! Issue 1, $2.99. By the way, you're going to end up paying about £200 total for this series.
Ben, do you know what? I'm going to save you a special spot on my toadstool where me and you can sit in utter naivety and just look at the pretty world.
That's the way I want to view it. I'm going to buy the codex, and then you can tell me about your stuff. That's fine by me.
Right, so when we're done here, I'm going to eBay and finding some nice rose-tinted glasses.
Yes. We will get them on. Look, it is a brand new, exciting time. Mm-hmm. It will be interesting. It's the guys at Games Workshop. They clearly knew what the issues were with 7th, so they're on top of this. So let's see where they go with this. But I'm interested to see where it is. But likewise, I want to be able to understand the game. So hopefully, as you say, Justin, it maintains that level of being able to grasp it. Because if it's too hard, I'll not understand it.
If it's an overarching flavour for forces for special rules, I think that's going to work a lot better than having 20 different units.
I'm all on for
overarching
flavors, Justin. Bring them on. Bring them on. Right, we have another, in the topic of walkers, we have another walker. This one is for Conflict 47.
Yeah, so this was...
yes!
Yeah, this was previewed by the guys at Clockwork and obviously at Warlord, who are behind Conflict 47, which is the sort of offshoot of Bolt Action. And this is the Hugh Shrek, or I probably said that wrong. Basically, it's the Locust, and this is going to be a big new jump walker for the German forces, and it can be armed with a hell of a lot of different guns. So from the pictures we've seen, it can have heavy machine guns, anti-tank guns, light auto cannons, rocket launchers, and then of course it has the two sort of fists as well. And this is just from what a couple of people in the community have been talking about. I'm sure maybe this is going to have a couple of different tweaks here and there, but this looks absolutely fantastic. And I love the idea that it's like this, it's a jump walker, but it's a massive jump walker. So this thing is going to like shake the ground when it hits, when it lands.
Do we have
on the
an idea of the
battlefield.
size of this thing? Have we any scale shots of it or anything yet?
No.
I haven't seen any scale stuff, but people have been talking about it a little bit on social media, and they say that a lot of some of the tanks, like the Panthers and stuff, come up to around sort of like the middle of this walker. So it is actually it is actually quite big. But this is just a little bit of speculation anyway. It might be it might be a little off.
With
But this
those
is what I've
power
been hearing
claws,
so
I
far,
want to see it
so.
just lifting up a tank now. Just
see,
jumping in.
This is the thing. Germany doesn't do little things. Doesn't do light stuff.
No. I suppose they don't.
It must be big. It
Yeah.
must be efficient. It must be heavy armor.
Love it. Is it based on a piece of it? Like, can you identify?
I can identify some components here. So I mean, like you've got things like upped MG42s. That looks like a Pack 40 knocked into a turret. This is actually a screaming Mimi on the top of this thing.
But the hull is the hull
The hull looks completely
recognizable
original to me.
Okay, so we can't say it's based off a
No,
such
there
a
is no
tank.
chassis.
Okay.
But the weapon options, I can see where they've came from.
Yeah.
So the big 7-barreled launcher there, that's what was called a screaming Mimi.
A screaming Mimi.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Lovely.
Okay.
Lovely piece.
A little bit of moderns for you next. There's some Razor ATVs out for Spectre. You're going to love this, Az. When you see these.
Ta-da.
Look at this.
Oh my
Yeah,
word.
so these were picked out by Gianna, who of course loves all of her modern warfare stuff, and these are
Me
by
too.
Spectre Miniatures, which are absolutely doing amazing stuff. And these are vehicles that were sort of retrofitted for the military, so that they could go into sort of the places that normal vehicles just couldn't.
Yeah.
So they're very, very good at their off-road and stuff like that. They used as scouting vehicles and recon stuff.
Love that one.
They actually also come with a suppressed M249 on them. So you've got like almost like a suppressed machine gun on the back of these things.
That's epic.
So say you found like a patrol out in the wilderness or something, you could mow them down before they got back to the enemy, the rest of the enemy and stuff, which is pretty awesome. And it kind of brings into to view a lot more different scenarios for Spectre. Because a lot of stuff we've seen so far has been very much ground-based, so, boots on the ground, sort of close quarters stuff. But if you can start to include a lot more vehicles into this, it suddenly opens up the tabletops to a lot more of a lot bigger scale as well. So you can start to do a lot of different style of maneuvers and stuff on the tabletop.
Talking about dynamic poses of the Primaris, look at those.
Yeah.
Like, those are proper action shots. And the way they're all inside the vehicles as well just looks fantastic.
I'm a huge fan of the moderns range coming out of Spectre, and the other guys, Empress.
They do some modern stuff as well.
Beautiful moderns as well.
Yep.
See, I think
Empress,
Gianna actually picked up some of these at UK Games Expo, and there's two variants you're able to pick up. So you can get one with and one without a crew. So you've got that option there to have the crew or not have the crew.
Yeah.
Which is a nice touch.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Right, and we're going to be shooting into our main topic. Justin is going to be taking us through. I don't want to oversell it, Justin. So
It's my concept.
It's the ultimate Death Guard concept, better than anything you've ever seen in your life. Oh my God, it's going to be amazing! And we'll be right back after we tell you about some hubs.
A world of hideous nightmares awaits in Kingdom Death Monster. Fight to survive or fade into darkness at the Kingdom Death Hub at beastsofwar.com. Fame and fortune awaits in Blood and Plunder. Set sail in the golden age of piracy and claim the riches of the Caribbean at beastsofwar.com.
Right, welcome back. This is it. The big build-up. Actually, Justin, to be completely fair here, right? What you are embarking on here, I think, is exactly what I have been hoping for. So, what you're going to talk us through your Death Guard list, okay? You're going You're going deep into the Death Guard.
This is my initial build. So I went for a 2,000 point list. It's actually 1,999, 100 power, okay? Which, from what we understand, is going to become the average.
Party like it's 1999. Oh, yeah.
I wasn't allowed to party in 1999. I was too young. So, I have went and got myself a list put together.
You've done an army list.
Yes.
Right, this army list is available to download. If you come over to beast4.com and you've got a free account, log into this post and there'll be a link there that you can click to download this magnificent army list of Justin's construction.
Okay.
You know, it's worth downloading that before he takes it down, okay? So it's like...
No, what I think I've created is a decent starter force. Something to get me started, get good, decent games done on the table with enough flexibility within the force so that I'm not overloading one way or the other and getting crushed for something that I'm not prepared for.
Okay.
Okay?
How do we do this? Do you want to take us through the list, and then we can talk about the models and stuff like that there? Because I'm sure your list is fascinating, right? And I know we're all here on tenterhooks waiting for this list. But what I'm most interested in is in the fact that this army, I don't mean to spoil your surprise now, but this army is kind of a mashup between 40k and 30k, if I'm right, yeah?
Yeah. And my reasoning for that is I've done Chaos armies before. And I want something new to work on. So by wanting something new, I'm going to aim at something old, as in the old marks of armor.
But it's still going to be completely viable, right? It has to pass the following tests.
Okay.
It has to be legal to play in 40k.
It is.
It has to be fairly WYSIWYG.
It is.
So fairly WYSIWYG. I'm not that big on the WYSIWYG stuff, but you want it to be fairly WYSIWYG.
In the entire army, there is maybe one model that's not precisely armed right, but near enough.
Okay. And you want it to suit the narrative. It has to make sense from a background perspective.
Yes.
Does it pass those 3 litmus tests?
Yes.
Right. Well, you can be the judge of it, because if it
list?
does, this is exactly what I've been hoping for.
The army list is legal. I've checked it and rechecked it. Everything should work perfectly here.
Okay.
Okay? The narrative side of things, I have a beautiful story for what I want to do.
Okay.
And the last one, what was it again?
WYSIWYG, yeah.
Near enough. 99.9%. Right?
99.9%. Okay.
So, the way I'm starting this army is the way a lot of people are going to be starting at the minute, is with, of course, Dark Imperium.
Okay.
So I'm taking the Chaos forces from that, okay? So if I go to here, I should be able to see, so I've got my commander, who is my Lord of Contagion.
Yep.
So, beautiful model, really, really nice, and I like the abilities it has.
Yep.
I've got the... Oh, what is this guy called again?
The Bell End.
No.
Is it the Plague Caster, or...?
No, the Plague Caster is my Psyker. He is the Noxious Blightbringer. Alright, so he's going to throw out some nice buffs and stuff into the army. After that, I've obviously got, this is my Plague Caster, so a bit of psychic powers knocked into there.
Yeah.
Again, beautiful model, had a lot of fun.
These models are amazing, I've got to say. It's it is drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah.
I love
the
those.
Fathead bloat drone.
Yeah.
Which is horrendous on the tabletop for doing damage.
And it's probably one of the finest models I've seen in ages. The bloat drone is really good. Yeah.
I've obviously got my Poxwalkers, I believe they are. Yep, Poxwalkers. And I've got a 7-man unit of Plague Marines.
Okay.
So, with all of this, that's giving me a very decent little starting force, right?
So if you click that one there, Justin, you get to see everything that's up there.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So that's what I've got to start with. This is what a lot of people have to start with.
Yes.
So I now have to decide, where do I go from here? The very first thing I have added, and I've already bought this for the army, is a unit of Terminators, right?
Okay. Yep.
These Terminators are 30k Terminators.
Right. Okay.
So this is the only model in the army that's not exactly WYSIWYG. It's the sergeant for this squad.
Okay.
Right? Because he's got a plasma blaster, but I'm counting it as a combi plasma. Okay? The entire...
Oh, I let you away with that, man. If that's the only little bit of...
That's the one thing.
You know, like, it's plasma, really, isn't it?
Exactly, but combi plasma means there's a bolter strapped on there. So for the rest of the unit, because this kit
could you
only
not
comes...
give him the strap on somewhere?
No.
No?
But the entire unit comes with combi bolters, right?
Yes.
So I've actually went to Forge World, and I've grabbed the combi weapon set.
To
make sure I keep it WYSIWYG. So on the top, we've got the combi plasma. Combi Melta, Combi Flamers. And this is going to be really useful because it means I can put that into any of the units that have that in the future.
Hang on a second now. I see. All right, so the top is the Combi Plasma.
Yep.
Then Combi Melta.
And then Combi Flamers.
Combi Flamers. So
Nice.
Plasma, Melta, Flamers. Okay.
Yeah. And that it's one of those things, I knew I had to do it, so I picked it up straight away.
Well, can you not use one of those Combi Plasmas on the gun? That way you don't need to have a strap on.
I could, but look at the blaster. Look at just how cool it is.
Oh, you prefer that one? Is it the extra length? Is it?
It's the
girth,
width of it.
it's the width.
It's the
If you look
width.
at
It just looks really cool.
Yeah.
The other thing the entire squad is armed with is chain fists. Because chain fists in this edition are going to be great. And Combi Plasmas are going to be amazing because plasmas no longer blow up on you unless you supercharge them.
Yes.
So basically, I can be firing both bolter.
What are you going to do chain
plasma.
fist wise?
No, you get chain fists in there.
The chain fists are in the box.
Yeah, see this guy here has a chain fist. You can just about see it.
Yeah.
So I think if I've got possibly this guy. No, he's got a power fist. But you see, if I spin this around, see this little point here?
Yeah.
There's a connection point there for the chain fist, which is this image. So you see here.
There it is.
And you get enough of those in the box to do all of them. So this is one of those times where pretty much 90% of what I wanted to arm them with was in the box.
Good. Now this is the point where we're going to talk about the 30k, 40k hybrid.
Yeah, because this is, of course, a 30k army.
This is 30k Terminators, yeah.
Yes.
So,
because of the way the narrative lies at the minute in the world, I am saying that, say, a detachment of the Death Guard from the Heresy era has came out of the warp into modern day.
Now, for anybody that's new to 40k, okay, let's talk a little bit about the warp. So the warp is... It's kind of like a hyperspace. It's kind of like a hyperspace, but it's almost like an alternate reality.
It is.
But what you need to know about the warp is it's full of demons.
Yes. It's hell.
When you described it to me, I imagined a bus just driving through space, and you looked out the windows and loads of demons are looking in, going blah.
It is. Pretty much. It is terrifying. The warp, right? You know, you are in your battle barge or whatever, screaming through warp space. Warp space is your ability to travel faster than light within the 40k universe. But to go through warp space, you need shields. Okay, they're called. What are they called?
Geller fields, I believe, is the pronunciation.
Yes. And these Geller fields protect you from the effects of the warp. And
to keep the demons out.
Keep the demons out. So basically, you're looking out your little porthole, right? And out there is a billion demons scratching at the Geller field, trying to get in, and it is absolutely
that drives some people insane.
Yeah, and like this is for your entire trip through the warp. The other thing to know about the warp is time does not pass in the warp at the same rate as time passes in
real space.
Real space, okay? So time can go forward. Can it go backward? Can it go sideways?
It can go faster and it can go slower. You could get kicked out wherever. You could go into the warp and go out at completely the wrong place, completely the wrong time. There have been fleets upon fleets lost within the warp.
Well, we know for certain that you can go into the warp and it will feel like a couple of hours passed, but maybe a couple of millennia have passed in real space.
Yeah, that's an extreme case, but yeah.
What I want to know, and maybe you guys can feed into this, is it? We know that there's talk in real science, in the likes of black holes and stuff like that. That there's the possibility in other dimensions for things to go almost like sideways and backwards and stuff like that. Has anybody ever popped out of the warp back in time?
I don't seem to remember anything.
You're messing with stuff now.
Because that. Please tell me if that has ever been a thing in 40k where time has been so affected by the warp that a squad of Ultramarines have found themselves at the point that the Horus Heresy was about to take place. Would that be kind of cool?
I've only ever seen it go forward at a slower pace or faster pace.
Well, you can let me know. I'm just speculating there.
Yeah.
Right, so what you have then is one of the great things about the Death Guard, and I might imagine that this is going to equally apply to any of the Chaos Legions, is that they were in the warp, the Cadia gates have fallen, they're now spilling out of the warp.
Yeah, there's now a massive tear across all of real space.
Yeah.
Which means instead of just having the Eye of Terror, which was basically imagine a hole about yay big that you could get back out from. Yeah. Now it's like all across everything. And now, any of the old legions or things that were maybe trapped in there could get spat out. There's more of a chance of that happening because there's more space for them to get out.
Right. Yeah.
It's allowing me to play with the narrative the way I want to, because I don't want to just do Chaos Space Marines again.
No.
I've done it, I want to do something new. It also means that I can play with the color scheme. So we've seen the stuff from Dark Imperium. It is that nice bilious dark green, everything's dark, rotted, disgusting. It also means I can add these guys in.
Yeah.
So, those sides.
Is this the color scheme that you're going to go with then?
Yes.
For the right, so your army is going to have two components to it. It's
Yes.
going to have your current Chaos guys.
Yeah, that's been really mutated by Nurgle.
Because time has passed for them, so Nurgle has had more time to take effect. So they're more plaguey, they're more bily, they're more blah.
Yeah.
But these guys are still in pre-heresy pristine armor.
Well,
And
even then, it's not pristine.
yes, but pre-heresy less
Mutated,
Nurgleized, less
Yeah.
tainted.
Yeah.
But still in their pre-heresy colors.
Which will allow them to do one very interesting thing in the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can come down and still look like true Adeptus Astarte,
Yeah.
they could go in as an infiltration unit. Oh, of course, we're Space Marines. We worship the Emperor. By the way, we have something to tell you. The Emperor is dead. You're going to need to rebel against the Imperium because, look, we're the Emperor's chosen. We're telling you now. The Lords of Terra, they're not out looking out for your best interest right now.
All right. Whoa,
So
whoa, whoa,
we
whoa,
could have
whoa,
a bit
whoa.
of subterfuge
Right.
going on
Let's
here.
let's take a step back here. Ben, what the hell's he talking about here? Is this a plot line for the Death Guard?
No, this is something I'm planning to do for myself.
Right.
It's my
Yeah,
own
yeah.
plot line.
Well, it makes sense though, because obviously a lot of the worlds in the Imperium and stuff like that, maybe a handful of them probably don't even see Space Marines half the time,
Yeah.
and so that their sort of view of the Space Marines is always going to be through iconic images and books and things like that. And so what Justin is suggesting here is it's quite fascinating, and it's almost gives, as he says, a little bit of a layer of subterfuge to the Death Guard where you probably wouldn't have it before, where their leaders can now send these Death Guard who, for all intents and purposes, look like normal Adeptus Astartes to these worlds and turn them against the Emperor, start to weave a narrative and sort of sow the seeds of rebellion, get Nurgle sort of infesting all the different sort of
love it.
aspects
I
of
love the
these
idea.
planets
Okay.
and stuff like that. So,
Right. Okay.
So it means that I can feel both types with that narrative theme that you were talking about.
Okay. Let's have a look
That's
through your
awesome.
army list then. Right. I
Okay.
think you have some pictures of it. Okay. So
Well, I don't have pictures of everything, but most
okay.
of
Well,
it.
you've got a Lord of Contagion at 184 points. Okay.
Yeah, so he is from the Dark Imperium set, of course.
Okay.
So basically, all of this is in the army.
Yeah. So you've got a malignant plague caster.
Yep.
Plague caster.
That's the guy down the front left.
Okay. You have plague marines.
Yep, that's the guys just behind that.
Okay. I'll let you point at that. So
Yeah.
so your warlord is where the Lord of Contagion is at the front.
Here.
You then have the plague caster on
Here.
that side. You have the plague marines.
Here.
You have the pox walkers.
Yeah, which is just the poor civilians who've been infected by some form of zombie plague.
Okay. So your plague marines 196 points. Your pox walkers 120 points.
You went with 20 Poxwalkers now?
I actually went with 30 because there's two units of them, 120
Yeah,
and
and
one
then
at 10.
he's also got a 10-man unit in
So,
there at 60.
so there's an addition I need to make is another 10 poxwalkers.
This is where Justin's idea of like this almost subterfuge thing could be quite interesting as well, because while obviously you could use the models for the actual poxwalkers that you get from Dark Imperium, there's no reason you couldn't start to then look at maybe picking up potentially a unit of Imperial Guardsmen.
Yeah.
And then, theming them in this sort of like, these are the guys that have turned against, the Emperor and are now working alongside these Death Guard and stuff. So you could actually bring in alternative models
Yeah.
for that. too.
That's cool.
Also.
Yeah. Right, for your fast attack, you've wented for the Fetid Bloat Drone.
Which I think is just a gorgeous mini
Yeah.
and a really nasty piece of work on the tabletop.
158 points of beautiful. I'm totally with
150
you.
points of auto hit. Don't need to roll the hit with its weapons, and it's got two of them.
There we go.
2d6 hits.
Yeah. Like I said, you can download this so you can follow along with us.
Yeah. So
Right.
that's Dark Imperium.
Yeah, so all of that start of the army list
Dark Imperium.
is your Dark Imperium set. Right. No, so that is current day 40k.
Yes.
Okay. From here on, we're starting to creep into the pre-heresy stuff.
Yes. Yes.
Right, so to kicking off then, you have a Chaos Predator at 187 points. Now you didn't want to run with the current Predator hull, did you?
No. Again, I've done it before, and the Chaosified Predators, I don't like the aesthetic anymore, right? Because I've done it, I want to do something different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this.
Oh, my word.
Because I love the look of that, and I think in the Death Guard colors, that's just going to look absolutely gorgeous. So black becomes white, yellow becomes green, and then just rust and grime and dirt. I may actually try the salt and hairspray technique on the pre-heresy stuff to make it look older, make it look a little rougher than maybe a pristine Space Marine, but still, pretty epic.
This technique is basically you put down your base color of, say, like a silver. So you prime it, say, like a silver or a metallic.
I'd be priming it like a really dark brown.
Okay. You then hit it with a blast of hairspray. You then sprinkle rock salt, so rock salt over it. Some of it will then just stick to the hairspray. Okay. You then give another quick blast of hairspray over the top of that. Then you give it its foundation coat of white or whatever it is that you're doing after that, okay? And then once that's dried, you flick off the rock salt, and you've got all the chips and
nice
stuff like
patches and bits worn away and come off the paint.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
So it's another the other technique that you can use is sponging, and I think sponging would probably work just as well in this instance.
See, I think because it's going to be a reasonably big force, I'm going to be doing it across quite a few miniatures once I have the force fully up to date with what I want from my 30k stuff. Rock salt's better for mass production.
You think so?
I believe so.
Well, we will find out. Okay, so you're going for, and that'll be in the pre-heresy colors then?
Yeah, and that's a Demios Pattern Predator.
The Demios Pattern Predator, right. You're then going for Defilers. Now that's 40k.
Yeah. That is 40k, but the Defiler is a kit that I've always liked. You know, it's one of those classic Chaos pieces. So you can imagine this thing has been gifted to the Legion by the Lord of the Contagion, and it's just said, look, put that in the hole, just keep that there till it's needed. And then you imagine a Thunderhawk landing, the front bays open, and this thing just clambering out and going after someone. Yeah. we have a couple of Defilers here. So this is your standard kind of Defiler, right? Yeah,
so that's the one that we all know and love there, right?
There's only one thing on this model I don't like.
Yeah.
This combat arm.
You don't like that combat arm?
It's too static.
It is, right. So you're going to swap it out.
Yeah.
The way you have done with this one.
Yeah, this is a Defiler we had in the office that was unfinished for a conversion.
Yes.
Now, I had just built a Forge Fiend.
Yes.
So we had the leftovers for the Mauler Fiend.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually grabbed the Lasher tendrils from it and made that into the combat arm.
I think
it works so much better.
Is a far superior combat arm.
It looks vicious compared to that.
Yeah.
However, I have another option you might want to consider. Okay. The Mechanicus the Mechanicus army has Dunewalkers.
They're a little too clean for me, and I don't like that sort of 50s robot style.
Well, surely...
that's what it was based on.
Surely that is what the Defiler kind of defiled from. was the Dunewalkers. So why not consider getting the Dunewalkers, a couple of Dunewalkers or a Dunewalker, and doing that in the original Death Guard colors?
Maybe.
Okay, and maybe starting the early corruption of that. And including it in the 30k part of the army.
Making a baby Defiler.
Yeah. You could go either way. You know, like if you want to go Defiler, you can just go 40k Defiler.
The other thing I think I can do is I can maybe clean up the Defiler, take off some of the demonic aspects to it, and actually make it look more Imperial.
Yeah.
So actually make that a conversion project to say, can I make a Defiler not look like a Defiler but still be a Defiler?
That's why this idea is so cool, because you're either going to go 40k stuff and go backwards, or 30k stuff and come forwards. You've got a lot of flexibility depending on the models you go for.
Exactly.
That's really interesting, though. I like the thought of actually building up the corruption on a clean model, and then you have that full decision to say, how do I want to wear this?
Yeah.
Or go back the other way and try to clean up a corrupted model and look at uncorrupting it. Well, 315 points
of awesome
of Defiler in there.
Do I know the other thing?
Yeah.
Pretty much every vehicle of mine can take a combi plasma. I think they are the strongest basic weapon that you can now grab and put onto anything.
Yeah.
Because you're reaching out at 24 inches with a strength 7 hit, and you can supercharge that if you really want.
Yeah.
If you fail with that on a vehicle, it just does one mortal wound.
And those things regenerate wounds?
Oh yeah, the Defilers now regenerate.
So just overcharge all the time. Who cares? Let's just do it.
Yeah. So every turn the Defiler heals one.
How many wounds has the Defiler got actually?
It's going to be at least 10, right?
14 wounds.
Wow,
that's
there you go.
That's disgusting.
See how many the Predator has.
That is disgusting. Let me drop back to the Predator. The Predator, Chaos Predator.
Yep, up top there.
I don't actually see it. It's not listed on that.
So, actually, well, Chaos Predator starts with 11 wounds.
It starts with 11 wounds.
Yeah, it's down the bottom here. Sorry, I've had a little bit of a misprint on this for the stat line.
Yeah.
I'll have to keep an eye on that.
It's oh yeah. Yeah, so it's starting with 11 wounds. So
yeah, so this is the thing. Vehicles are so much more resilient in this edition.
Yeah.
Because as you saw it yourself, whenever you're trying to kill a vehicle, you have to mean it. You have to go after it.
Yeah, don't go. You have to mean it. Don't go in half-assed. Go in hardcore.
Yeah, pretty much is exactly what you want to do. Next up.
Right. Next up, Rhino. Did you go with current, old?
Old.
Right. Okay. So we're going 30k on the Rhino. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I can't find the Rhino that I had. I'm sorry. I'll bring up a picture of the one I'm wanting to go for.
No, it's okay. We'll wait.
Okay. This is the good thing because I can just. Let's bring the screen up while I do this.
See, this is really exciting to hear Justin's ideas, though, right? Because I'm a toy player.
No, don't cover for
No.
You're doing the whole professional thing.
Just...
You know, he buggered up this segment, so everybody stare at him. Do you know what? Let me get out of your way. Look, stare at him. Stare at him.
Oh God.
He does this a lot, you know.
Yeah, I do.
No, but the toy, right? The toy don't do the work.
No.
That's not their thing. But this time travel aspect for it's making me really excited. And you talking about a unit potentially going into the warp and coming out in the past, if that's a thing, I love the thought of Tau first attempt at the warp going wrong. Like, some poor Tau who don't dabble in it, they're all enlightened. And are they going to enlighten the 30th century?
Yeah.
Probably not.
No.
Not going to... Oh, there we go.
Right, there we go.
I love the design on the sides of the doors here. And the cheese to the front.
The circular doors, yes, and the double paneling on the
on the
slits.
It just makes it look that little bit more mean, which I quite like.
Will your guys even fit in there?
Yes. It's an abstract.
Yes.
They fit in theory.
Yes. They didn't fit before, so we don't go there. We don't talk about that, okay?
Yeah.
So your Chaos Rhino's 87 points.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
And again, it's got a combi plasma.
Again, God.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
This is a disgusting list.
That's awesome.
Right, okay. Right. You've then went with some Chaos Space Marines.
Yeah. Regular 10-man squad, but I'm going to go with the Mark III armor.
Oh, those are gorgeous.
Yes.
No, I could have went with the Mark IV, but I like this sort of rougher design to it.
Yes.
You know, that, and in the actual Dark Heresy box set, a lot of the backpacks are this Mark III type, so these guys will fit with them really well.
Yes, and the paneling on that will suit the paint scheme that you're going for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So I'm really looking forward to this idea.
That is nice. So what box are you getting them out of?
No, I actually have the option because Games Workshop have actually started doing these as individual boxes.
Yeah.
So whenever I was up in Belfast last Monday, I picked up the Terminator set, but they had all the other ones just underneath the Betrayal at Kells set, ready to go. Yeah. And I think it is the Betrayal at Kells set I need to go for, which I should have open here. Oh no, sorry, it's Burning of Prospero, which has these guys.
Okay, yeah.
Because there, I believe there, they are. Ta-da! So if I really wanted to go heavy, I could grab that and then maybe sell off the extra bits.
Whoa. That's got some of your gold guys in there.
Hold
on. We don't sell it off,
Yeah, that has some of my gold dudes in there.
I got some Legio Custodes in there.
There may be no need for you to sell it off.
Oh, look at that.
But this is what I like. And I love the old weapon designs.
Yes.
I absolutely adore the 30k weapon designs. And I love having just a chainsword hanging off his back. It looks so functional.
Yeah.
So that, I think, is the full list because the last of it should be special rules.
Okay, yeah.
So what's the last page? Is there anything else? Special rules.
Chaos Terminators. And then your special rules. And you've already showed us the Terminators you're going for, right? Okay.
So this, I think, is a reasonably good 2,000 point list. Not overly specialised at anything in particular.
What have you?
Pretty good.
Right. Well, the first question is you've nothing air in it, and do you have any anti-air in it? Is your plasma
You see, again, we're in the arms race here in the office, so I'm not really expecting anyone to take out too much air power.
Oh, he's counting on us not being able to afford it, isn't he?
No.
Right.
The other thing is, in the Chaos Terminator squad, I believe I have a Reaper autocannon in there, so I think that might
Didn't
be
you
some
take
air power.
glasses on your defilers?
I did.
Yeah,
All right.
I can deal with air reasonably.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Well, the Filer's got las, and the way I've actually loaded out the Predator is important as well. And
Yes.
this is something that you used to not see a lot, but I think you will see more of now.
Right.
Twin linked is completely gone from the game.
There's no twin linked.
No twin linked. All of those weapons are now just twin whatever they are.
Right.
So top of the Predator, that's twin las cannon.
Uh-huh.
On the sides of it, I'm putting twin heavy bolter on the other side. So that means the Predator is now pretty good at both infantry and vehicle killing.
Yeah.
So I think that's a nice balance.
The twin change is really interesting because twin linked meant you're more reliably hitting. What
Yes.
twin now means though is you're going to either be double hitting or potentially double missing. So you've got more fluctuation, but when it hits, it really, really hits.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you're not re-rolling, you're just rolling more.
I like that. I think that works well.
That's the other thing I've been discussing with John, because he picked up some of the Centurions, you know, the big Space Marines in the overdone armor.
Yeah.
He's got 3 of those, and he's planning to put plasma or las cannons on all of them. So that's 6 las cannon shots out of 1 unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's only at the beginning level that we've got at the minute. Those are really only going to be super useful against my bloat drone.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Well, 2,000 points seems to be well, it's where we're at, or sort of standard at the moment. You're actually getting a little bit less in a 2,000 point list now than what you used to.
But really
There,
awesome that it
thereabouts,
came
so.
to exactly 100 power. I mean, I know it's the weapons and the configuration that brings the points up, but it was really nice you could balance that.
It's the number of models determines power, and whenever you're playing a power game, you can take any war gear you want. Whenever it's points, everything adds up.
Right, so did it come to 100 power?
100 power precisely, 1999 points.
I mean, even with the customization, it's still good that you can get that. It shows the power
Yeah.
system. If you're going for those quick, more open play games, it's going to suit it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
There you have
I'm
it.
really happy with
Go
what
take
I've
a look
got.
at the list, guys, because we're really interested in any of your feedback. I have some questions then. I love the idea of mixing the 30k and the 40k stuff together. I think this iteration of 40k is really opening that door. Okay, especially from a narrative perspective. Okay. So we know that that's going to work from a chaos perspective. Any of the legions could, in theory, now have ships spitting out of the warp that may still come out as fresh as the day that they went in. From
obviously, you know,
the
maybe
heresy
they've lost
itself.
their command echelons and stuff, and that's why they got lost because they didn't know exactly what they were up to. Things like that.
Can we do the same thing with the loyalist legions? We know that the Space Wolves, the 13th Company, came back.
But they're wolfing now, I believe.
Yes, they all came back as crazy mad werewolf dudes.
Yeah.
But is it in theory feasible that an ultramarine battle barge got lost?
Yeah.
And that they all of this ruckus at the Chaos Gash has basically that they've just popped out now as well and rejoined their brothers. And we could get some 30k
Mix and match ups,
Ultramarines stuck in there as well. You know, it's kind of really sweet in many ways. You know, it's the idea of the old and the new meeting again, and then you have the Primaris in the mix on the whole thing, who are like the old new. You know, it's like and bigger than you.
See, that's interesting, yeah, because would the new gene seed be willing to accept, you know, 30K?
What I really love about it, Justin, is we all want more opportunities to play with our models, right? And we all love the pre-heresy stuff. The pre-heresy stuff
It's
is
gorgeous.
Yeah. Okay? And the stuff that Forge World has been pumping out has just been magnificent. This gives us an opportunity to pull our Forge World stuff in and play it in some of our 40k games that we're having. And it narratively work.
It also
Narratively
gives me a
be
chance-
solid. You
It
know?
also gives me a chance to have a Chaos Force that doesn't look like a standard Chaos Force with horns and, you know, weird skulls hanging off everything.
Yeah.
You know, it gives it a really nice aesthetic look that I like.
Yeah. Well, questions for you guys as a community then. One, go and take a look at Justin's list, see what you think of it.
Yeah.
Two,
Have I made a boo-boo? Is it legal?
Yeah. Two, Could we apply the same thought process to the loyalist legions, the loyalist chapters? So could we pull in some of the old 30k armies in that they're being readopted by their modern battle brothers and saying, you're not taking a rest. You're fresher than I am. Come on, let's get back into the fight.
Yeah,
I think you could do some amazing stuff with that, and it would give us a real great opportunity to spend more money on the stuff we love. Yeah.
Well, this is the thing as well. I mean, like I'm looking at this army, and I'm looking at doing it by stages. I'm not just going to go blah and have a big wall of stuff.
Yeah.
So the way I'm starting this is, I've now got Dark Imperium to work on.
Yep.
I've got a unit of Terminators to add to it, so that I can have slightly expanded games right off the bat. After that, just every month I'm going to pick up a little bit here and there for it, whenever the notion strikes me.
Yeah.
So the 2,000 points is not what I'm going to be playing straight off the bat.
No.
It's what I'm working towards.
Okay, well there you go.
And one other thing, I am planning to pick up a second set of Dark Imperium, because I think that'll give me some nice flexibility to trade stuff in and out, because everything in that Dark Imperium set is fantastic.
You just want a second bloke drum, don't lie.
Of course.
The dark.
I have already been to eBay. I couldn't find one.
No, I'm not surprised. Nobody's given them up. It is just a beautiful, beautiful starter set. Right. On the topic of things coming back and gashes in the sky, TTCombat next weekend or on the 14th.
Yes.
Are due to relaunch Carnevale. It's coming back onto Kickstarter to fund a 2-player starter set.
Yes.
We've had the guys in the studio. Justin's going to spend a bit of time with them to give us the update on where they're headed with Carnevale, and it is exciting stuff. We'll be right back after some hubs.
From Viking halls to the cities of the future, terrain buffs will love our foreground hub. Watch gaming tables of all genres come to life at beastsofwar.com. High-octane anime action is the name of the game in Relic Knights. Mount up in your mecha and battle for glory at our Relic Knights hub on beastsofwar.com.
So, hi everybody, I have been joined by Josh and Dan from TTCombat, and today, I'm sure you can probably guess, we're talking about Carnevale. So, guys, what is happening with the world? Because I know you guys picked it up, and now you've been working away on it for a while. So, what's the next stage? What's the next evolution of the game?
Yeah, so we've been working on it for around about a year now, and what we're aiming to do is bring out a Kickstarter on the 14th to bring out a 2-player starter set for it.
Ooh. Now hang on. 2-player starter sets are always something that are great in a game. So, the way I always look at it is, whenever you have a 2-player start set, 2 mates can actually just say, yeah, we want to get into this. Let's split that between us. I've done that with John a couple of times. Or if it's one of those games that your mate's not so interested in, you can just go and grab the thing and then say, look, I want to show you how to play this game. You have no buy-in, no work to do. I can just show you how to play. And if you love it, fantastic.
Yeah.
That's it. And this 2-player starter set embodies that. You've got terrain. We've got in-house capabilities to make really easy flat packable terrain. So we've got these nice buildings which you can just unfold, put together, and then play. All the models are one-piece miniatures. Everything you need will be in this 2-player starter set.
We've got a load of
sit down, straight to game.
Printed tiles and everything as well. So you've got all the canals and everything all made up and ready. We want this entire thing to be just one nice little box set. You open up, pop the models onto the table, pop all your buildings up. You've got Venice right there, and you can start having it.
Yeah, having a good fight. Now, this is one of the things that was always a little bit of a speed bump for Carnevale, was it's quite a terrain-dense game. Because, let's be honest, if you've ever looked at pictures of Venice, that place is chocker.
Yeah,
it is.
It is filled with buildings everywhere. Now, I'm seeing you have some fold-out terrain here?
Yeah, so for the 2-player set, we wanted to make it very easy for people to get hold of a lot of scenery, enough for them to actually start having games on. So we decided the idea of, we can make some cardboard printouts along with the tiles and stuff like that. So immediately you've got a good amount of scenery on the table there and ready to go.
Yeah, and so that's the built version. You have an unbuilt version there?
So a rough little prototype.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, this is probably one of the worst ideas to do on camera, but I'm going to try and pop this together just quickly under the close camera. So, like though, like so, and then it should just... Okay, how many people have wanted to watch me fold a box on camera before? Probably not many.
but it's as simple as that. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe the application of a little bit of glue, but
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you have that in the box and it gives you essentially a gaming table with your 2-player starter set, fantastic idea.
Yeah.
I really, really like that idea because it removes those barriers to gaming.
Yeah, we
Speed
really
bumps.
didn't want anyone limited in any way to get on board with this game, and we want this 2-player set to be everything you possibly need to start, and so we want as many people to get involved in the whole kind of game and environment and everything.
But at the same time, due to our fantastic on-site MDF sort of laser cutting, if you ever want to step up your game, we have got very cheap, very reasonable options available.
Well, this is a merchant's. I think we may have had a look at this before it was painted.
Yeah, we
a long
brought
time
it
ago.
over, so it's kind of progressed since then. But yeah, so we're able to kind of produce all these in-house and looking at potentially putting them onto the Kickstarter as well for people that want to upgrade and get kind of a full MDF board ready to go.
You see, this is the thing. Because you guys do terrain, you can build the world and then invite people into it.
Exactly.
So I mean, like, whenever you guys go to shows and stuff in the future with Carnevale, I'm expecting to see some beautiful demo tables from you guys.
Oh, we've
I
got
know the work
lots
you
of
do.
ideas, yeah.
You know, but other than that, Kickstarter is Kickstarter, and the one thing everybody always wondered about is stretch goals. Are there plans for lots of stretch goals during the campaign?
Yeah, we do have quite a few initial plans. Obviously, everything with this Kickstarter is to get the best possible game we can, and the more people that back, the better things we can kind of bring in, and the kind of better stretch goals that we can achieve. So as soon as we've got more people pledging, we're like, we can get the fancier items, we can get this, we can get that, and just adding more and more to this set to make it the best we possibly can.
That's it, because by ourselves we can make this game, we can create Carnevale, but with the help of everybody on Kickstarter, with everybody who will pledge and who will back us, who will help us through this process, we can create the best game, we can create the best version of Carnevale,
Yeah, hands down.
hands down.
Yeah.
And it's something, it's the reason we've done this. It's Kickstarter allows us to have this conversation, have this communication with the public and bring Venice to life, really.
It allows a community to get involved in the game as well and makes them feel like they're actually building it with us, and that's exactly what we want. We want them to build this world with them so they properly engage with it and they feel like, this is something I've kind of had my input on. This is a game that I know I'll like because they've listened to what I've said, and that's one of the other main reasons why we're going for this Kickstarter.
You see, this is one of the things I always love about tabletop wargaming, because you guys can make the game, but as soon as it's in everybody's hands, it becomes their game, their stories in the world. Other than that, I mean, like, I know you guys are starting to look at tweaking rules and stuff to actually make the system flow a little better. Because, I mean, like, in the older system, there were one or two little speed bumps where things just needed a bit of rebalancing, a little bit of a touch up.
Yeah.
And it's nice to know that you guys aren't just saying, look, we just want to make the original pretty. We want to actually go in under the hood and actually retune the game engine.
The original one was very kind of narrative based, and we're still keeping this kind of narrative aspect to it, and we want that to be heavily kind of a part of the gameplay so people can make up these stories. But one of the issues was that level of balance wasn't quite there, so a lot of the mechanics that we're kind of tweaking and bringing in and kind of taking a look at is to make it a really fun narrative game, but one that also functions quite well as just a tabletop game, and one that people can do everything with and kind of just have fun playing it.
Okay, the important question is, who is in the 2-player starter set? Because whenever you're doing a 2-player starter set, you're kind of pinning your colours to the mast saying, these are the two factions we want people to be introduced to the world with.
100%.
So who's it going to be?
We've chosen the Guild, which
my
are,
favourite.
they're the embodiment of Venice. They are the citizens, they're the butchers, the barbers, they're the living class, but with this shady sort of almost mafia-esque underground. It's run from the shadows by these mysterious figures. And they're the ones that look after the people of Venice, but
For a price.
at a price, If you pay them, they'll look after you. If you don't, bad things are probably going to happen.
Oh, that's a lovely storefront you have there. Wouldn't be a shame if something happened to
Lots of accidents happen when walking home at night.
Many people just fall into a canal and never seen again.
Well, these things do just happen. Alright, so we've got the guild, and I think you guys have actually given me some 3D renders here.
Yeah, some of the 2-player starter faction kind of characters.
Alright, well, let's start by having a look. So we've got the guild symbol here, And yeah, so we've got one of the bollards that would be in the canal with a fish hook and a hammer.
Yeah, so the original guild came about from two kind of factions of shipbuilders and fishermen, and obviously the bollards are kind of very symbolic of Venice.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to bring that in with their kind of logo, and kind of it gives you an idea of they're now all working together, and they're this big solid faction that are all kind of getting on with their day-to-day lives, but also kind of running what's going on in the city.
Kind of feels like a union.
Yeah,
Although,
it's an organisation.
Should I not say that to the nobles? Do they not like that word?
Oh, they would hate that word. Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got some of the characters here. So first up, we have. Now this, if I'm right, was a Capodemisi, or am I getting that wrong?
Yeah, it's the Cappuccina, I think is the pronunciation.
Cappuccina or Capodicena?
Yeah.
All right. If you're Italian, please phonetic.
Feel free to call us out.
Yeah. But basically, the capo is the leader of the kind of the street faction. So he'll have a gang of people which are all kind of answer to him, and he gets his direction from the shadowy higher ups within the guild. And he'll be he's the street boss. He's the one.
He's the face you see. He's the one you get your orders from. He's the one that might lead some unruly mobs to your house to sort of rough you up a bit. He's very much the face of the guild.
Yeah. So kind of a high level enforcer.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, like the design is beautiful. He does look upper crust without being over the top fanciness for one of the nobles.
It's that kind of, they've got money, but they're also kind of utilitarian. They need to do their job.
Yeah. They're efficient, but they're not against a little bit of show. Image is everything, and he's got it.
As he's strolling down the streets of Venice, if there's a beautiful lady down the side, I'm sure he wants to look good.
That's it.
And I'm sure if he's walking down the street and there's men there, he wants to look impressive, intimidating, all the rest of it. Okay, next up we have someone who's a little bit more low class. So who is this?
So this is one of the newer characters we've brought into the range, and this is one of the fishermen. We've got two of them overall which are going to be in this starter set, and basically they're brought in to deal with the big Richard monsters, because obviously as they become more and more kind of common within the canals of Venice, the people are having to deal with that. And so the fisherman here, he's gone from the normal kind of fishing, going out and getting all that, and then he's now kind of going after massive monsters.
That's it. His normal hunting ground, the fish he might hunt, they've changed a little bit now. Replaced with terrible monsters. And it's sort of personified in what he's carrying there. I mean, that's going to cause some damage. He's not a slouch when it comes down to combat.
Yeah, well, you see, this is the thing. A normal fishing spear or harpoon, not exactly got a 3 kilo weight on the end of it to stab something.
To a Richard.
And it actually does look like it would do a lot of damage. You can imagine this guy going to a blacksmith's and saying, look, there are monsters in the canal, I need a bigger spike on the end of my harpoon.
Big, heavy, sharp.
Yeah. Big, heavy, sharp, that'll do the job. And then we have another one here as well. What do we have? Ooh!
So yeah,
ranged.
Another one, but a ranged equivalent. So it's that aspect of, again, taking out the monsters and stuff like that, but also because of his skill, the guild are like, well, we can use you for lots of other bits and pieces. So those are going to cause havoc for a giant monster. What's it going to do to a normal person?
Pin them to a wall.
Yeah. So it's going to be they're quite a powerful little bit for them. It's kind of the guild's firepower, because it's one of the things we felt they were kind of missing beforehand.
And this is the thing of the guild. The guild is predominantly a masses faction. It's I've got more people than you. They might not be as strong as you, but when there's 3 or 4 of them on you, it's not going to matter. And these guys are sort of their specialists. They're ones that get in there and really dish out some hurt.
Yeah, I'm loving the idea that you've got a few specialists mixed in here, because I mean, in the original set, I did feel like, couldn't I have a pistol or a crossbow, something like that? So this is kind of scratching that itch for me, which is fantastic. Next up, I believe we have a gondolier.
Yep.
Yes.
Again, another perfect example of regular people having to readjust to monsters in the water.
Because everything in Venice has changed, and people have to cope and adapt in how they can. And the gondolier, he needs to keep going along on his gondola, and now that there's massive monsters and stuff in the canals, and lots of other people out to get him, he's got to defend himself.
That's exactly it. He's not going to get paid if his customer gets eaten. He's got to be able to defend not only himself but the people he's carrying. And
well, I mean, his oar now has a massive blade bolted onto it, But I'm also seeing a bit of a hook on here. Is that in case someone falls in the water? It's just like, no, get back in here. You have to pay your taxi fare. Really nice design. Next up, who do we have?
We've got the first of the citizens from this set.
So there's going to be quite a collection of citizens within the set, primarily because although they are just normal people, the guild is a mob mentality, so they will have everyone ganging up on a single person. So as Josh mentioned, they're not great by themselves, but as soon as you've got 3 or 4 of them on you, everything kind of suddenly changes then. So obviously we need quite a few of them, and they're grabbed from all walks of life, from like the common citizenry.
Yeah, I assume this is another one then?
Yeah,
That's
another
correct,
one there, with his broken cane as his weapon.
No. We have a name for that weapon here in Ireland. That's a shillelagh.
Yeah.
Stick with that big lump on the end of it. That hurts.
That's it, and this is exactly it. The guild themselves are very efficient. You don't pay your taxes, that's fine, you don't have to give us money. You can follow these guys down this road for us. You can infiltrate this party, and it's almost like the gold's always the better option. It's always better just to give them some money.
Yeah.
Because the favours they could ask instead...
Yeah, you might end up losing an arm, a leg, your life.
That's it. But this is what happens. This is what you get into when you get with the guild.
Alright, so next faction for the 2-player starter box. Whose is this symbol?
This is the Rashar.
Ah.
So the big ancient kind of sea monsters and stuff that are kind of now working their way up into the streets and canals of the city.
And these are very different to most of the other factions in this game. They're the aliens, the ones that have sat beneath the waves for a time unknown. These are the ones that have just emerged, who knows why.
Yeah, they've got immense kind of eldritch dark magics and stuff which they have like access to.
Well, there's a question then. The storyline for the game, are you changing that up much, or are you continuing it on?
The original storyline is going to remain unchanged at the moment. We've got it so that we will be starting from where it left off. And the aim of this is to get the foundation of Carnevale established. We want to make the roots of the game perfect. We want everything to be as firm and strong as possible. And that's why we're going to Kickstarter, so we can make the 2-player starter set and the game itself as good as it can be.
Got it. All right. Well, let's start looking at some of the models that are going to come in this starter set. So, who is this gentleman?
It's the Magi Rashar. So he's their kind of their leader, as it were. He's immense kind of magical power, very dark, very twisted. Kind of uses very deep sea kind of. There's a feel to that. He kind of bridges the gap between the monsters and the kind of citizenry. He's the one that kind of entices people to join in with what their like activities are in the city.
Well, I suppose if I remember right, you do have the cult of Dagon, which is the human face of the Rashar.
So they're all the cultists and stuff that have started worshipping these creatures. So the cult are quite popular within the city in their kind of little district. There's quite a few kind of citizens joining up with them. Yeah,
if I remember right, again, the district that they're based in is sort of like a sunken district
That's
of Venice.
correct, yeah.
Sort of like half submerged in water, like up to the waist.
Yeah, quite dilapidated, run down, filled with water. Not many people really venture there, other than the kind of the worshippers and the
people who just have nowhere else to go. And it's these sort of people that the Magi preys on.
Yeah,
because he can promise them the riches of the sea, sort of this bounty from below.
Yeah, the people have nothing left and don't want to go to the guild. They turn to Rashar.
You've lost all your money. You've lost your home. Don't worry. Come to this church. We will feed you.
That's it. Dagon has a place for you.
Yeah.
It's just we won't tell you what.
Yes. You might be lunch for one of these guys, which is one of the Rashar themselves.
That's right. These are the Ugdru Rashars.
So they're your standard sea monster, the kind of basic troop for the Rashar. But they're not basic. They are, as you can see, big, nasty monsters.
There's nothing traditional, there's nothing normal about these things. These are alien, sort of almost amorphous creatures that have just risen up and sort of represented in their fish-like qualities.
Well, I am saying that we did have these in the original game, and the redesign I'm liking, because you've made the head smaller, you've actually given it more of a humanoid sort of shape, but also a bit of a toad-like shape as well, I'm seeing here. Which it does make it a lot more creepy and, a little bit more lifelike. Because I always thought the original ones, they were a little cartoony. I'm going to say it, they were a little cartoony. But I love the redesign on this. How many of these do we get in the starter set?
You get 2 of these in the starter set.
Okay, so I think I might need more harpoons.
That's it.
Yeah.
But you actually get something bigger than this in the starter set as well.
See if I have it here. Is this it?
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's the Red Rurishar.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the powerhouse. He's the one you do not want to be meeting.
Right. So I'm guessing tanky tank.
Tank hits like a Venetian cart. This thing is one of those terrifying things. These are the nightmares you have, but don't speak of, given form.
Right. And how do you get to? Where does this thing come from?
So,
I'm
they are
what the hell?
ancient creatures, but there's this whole kind of process within the Rashar that, with their dark magics and kind of rituals, they slowly turn their cultists into these creatures.
Oh,
Yeah.
So although they've existed, they kind of get more resources by taking other species. So eventually the citizens will turn into hybrids, so they get more features, eventually developing into the Ugdru, and then over years will eventually turn into these, and then these over centuries will turn into the giant Morgor Rashars.
Wow.
That's right. There's something bigger than this.
Yeah. Creepy fish monsters growing, changing.
That's it. And these fish monsters might have once been relatives of yours. They are being changed. They're evolving.
See, that's a really nice touch. That it's not just, oh, by the way, here are monsters. It's going, no. The dark magics are slowly twisting and changing the world.
That's it.
And the people who unfortunately live in this district, well, they're living half submerged, so web feet might be handy, gills might be useful. Nice handy little changes. And oh, by the way, you're now Rashar.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of the people, I believe we have some of the slaves.
Yeah, some of the less fortunate. This is a very unlucky person. As you can see by all the wounds, all the scars on this person's body. He's not had a great time lately. But the Rashar, as malicious as they are, they're also very efficient. They know exactly what they're doing. So they take slaves. They take people that can be of use to them. They can't travel during the day. They can't interact with the public. But their cultists can.
Yeah.
Slaves can operate in sort of smaller cells, but they can still do stuff that the Rashar themselves can't do. And failing that, they're a tasty little morsel every now and then, aren't they?
What?
That's right, yeah. Slaves can be eaten and are eaten by the Rashar, and
Okay.
perhaps they're the lucky ones because the torture
they
these
don't get
guys go
turned.
through. That's it.
Yeah, I believe we have one more slave here, female variant.
That's
Yes.
right, yeah.
Ooh, that's very nicely designed and bound up. So this is the thing as well. If you've been taken as a slave of the Rashar, who's to say that you're a willing slave?
That's it.
Yeah.
It's very unlikely.
Just
There's a
grab
separate
anyone.
sort of. You've got your cultists, you've got your citizens, but then you've got your slaves. They are there to not of their own abide. They are there because they have to be, and perhaps the consequences of disobeying probably worse than death.
Depending on which bit gets bitten off.
First.
This is the thing. Slave, you have failed me. Put your hand in this Rashar's mouth.
That's it. Or let's see if you're not going to obey as a human, maybe as an Ugdru you'll change. Or
It's interesting. It's very interesting. I like the faction choices for the Kickstarter for the 2-player starter set. They're two of those classic faces that were always part of the game.
that's it. And you've got the human aspect of the guild, the citizens. You've got the lifeblood of Venice. And with the appearance of the Rent, all this has changed. Everything's got this almost sinister hue to it now. And then you've got the Rashar, that are almost the embodiment of this corrupt world now. And with their sort of eldritch presence and magics, they just seem like the perfect conflicting forces. You get both sides of the coin.
Yeah, and both sides are pretty well matched against each other because they're both reasonably into their melee with a little bit of magic and a little bit of shooting mixed in there.
That's
so you're
it.
getting the full sort of look at the game.
That's it. It should cover most of the mechanics in the game. And any model should be able to combat another model. You've got very interesting matchups. Like you've got these fishermen who can deal heavy damage to these big creatures. But then these big creatures can really mess up a citizen's day.
Yeah.
But you get enough citizens, they can probably mob down
Turn
some.
the tide a bit.
So it's sort of this constant flux, and it should be pretty interesting.
It should be a nice meat grinder game.
That's it.
Because that's the one thing always to be careful with the 2-player starter set is that it's not just a whitewash one way or the other. It can go down to that last unit.
It
that
comes
last
down to
roll of
destiny and
dice.
fate.
Yeah, well, this is it. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm loving the idea of the factions. I'm loving that you're redoing sculpts. I love that you're redoing rules. I think the only thing left to say, unless you have anything else to add.
No, we'd just like to say the more people that join this Kickstarter, the more people that take part in the discussions and sort of the beta testing, because we have open beta testing that will be available on the Kickstarter. It just means that we can create the best game possible, and that's all we want. We've been fans of this game since before, over years now, since its creation, and we just want to see it do the best it can. And with your help, we believe that can be achieved.
All right, well, everybody, tell you what, get your comments in below. Are you looking forward to Carnevale? Are you wanting to jump in on this? Do you like the factions in the starter set? Do you think it's a good idea for the terrain? We'll move on here, and we will see you in the next one.
It's time for 28mm World War II action. Will you recreate history or reshape it your way? On the Bolt Action Hub at beastsofwar.com. Fight for the Iron Kingdoms as a warcaster. Take control of the mighty jacks, arcane devices, and dark sorceries to bring the fight to the War Machine Hub on beastsofwar.com.
So, you've had a chance to play the game?
Yeah, I have, and a 2-player starter set for Carnevale. I love this idea. That ability just to pick the thing up, no risk to me, and say, look, have a go with me. I've got 2 forces here. Let's go. Having all the terrain and everything in the box as well.
This is it. Carnevale always relied very heavily on its terrain. To have it all just pop up there in the box and stuff, I think it's going to be brilliant. Yeah. You're going to love it. The game is also a lot. It's got even more slick.
At the moment, still being tested, so there's still some stuff being tweaked and changed and chopped, and just to make it run smooth.
Are we going to get a demo game out so that they can see where it's at?
It's Beast of War. You really think we're not going to get the guys across and actually play a game?
Right, okay.
Come on.
Right, stay tuned for that. Right, Kickstarters. Ben, we have a couple of updates first before we pick today's Kickstarters.
Yeah, so the first one kicking off is from the guys at Foreground, and that's obviously for the Legend of Fable Realms, which is going to be closing in on sort of its final week or so on Kickstarter.
Yeah, but 8 days
this time
left.
There's about 8 days left, so yeah, something to look forward to. There's all the factions are sort of now open for you to go and check out. So you've got the Eightfold Path, which we've talked about. There's also the Drugaway Coven, as well as the State Guard, so the Mordenberg State Guard, and also the Sellswords Guild are starting to pop up on their Kickstarter page as well, which is absolutely fantastic. So we're seeing a lot more of the different races being thrown into the mix as well. So a lot of the renders we'd seen for the likes of the gnomes and the orcs and some of the dwarves are all going to be sort of thrown into the mix. There's also a whole bunch of really fantastic accessories being thrown in there as well. So if you like the likes of mugs, terrain, and all these kind of things, they've got those sort of added in as add-ons as well. One of the big things is actually the Cozy Dice bags. Cozy Dice have done some really fantastic faction-themed bags for you to pick up as well. So if you really, really like your Eightfold Path, you can pick up some bags and sort of use them for your dice and counters and all those kind of things as well. But yeah, it seems like it's going from strength to strength. It's been really nice seeing how this has all come together. They've run a very, very nice campaign that's had lots of live stuff going on as well, which is great. And they've been very interactive with the community as well, as you might imagine the guys at Foreground are, because they just love talking about their products and stuff.
Absolutely.
So really some great stuff coming out of Fabled Realms over the next week or so.
The other thing is we've been doing a lot of demo games and actual faction chats as well. So if you're actually curious about the world and want to see how the game plays, we've actually been working with the guys at Foreground to actually do a lot of videos with them to actually help you guys get into
this world is really, really fleshed out, isn't it? There is
so rich.
There's a load. It's really worth getting into that. So if you haven't already, go and check out the demo game, because the game is very, very slick, I've got to say. And the world is so fleshed out, you could RPG in this, as they have done for the last 10 years.
This is what gave birth to it. It's a really, really great one. Okay,
another Kickstarter that you have to check out is, of course, the Blood and Plunder. Blood and Plunder blew us away this year. We have been ever since. It's been absolutely fabulous. They're down to their final 11 days.
Yes.
Ben, how are they getting on?
Yeah, they're doing really well. They've been stomping through stretch goals and stuff, so they've unlocked the likes of some really cool doubloons and stuff that you can get for your games and play with this. So you've got really nice metal coins. They've got some nice bits of terrain. They've unlocked a selection of different sort of special characters and stuff as well. At the moment, at least at the time of filming, they are also working towards a whole bunch of new characters as well. So you've got the likes of the guide, the pilot, and the spy, and they work a little bit like how a lot of the special characters kind of work in games of Saga, in that they sort of add to your force in different ways.
Yeah.
So, for example, the spy might give you some sort of more ways to add subterfuge into your games and things like that. The pilot for your seaborne adventures and stuff. So some really nice stuff there that's sort of expanding things out, adding a bit more to the world, bringing these factions up with some new characters and some new colour as well, which is fantastic. And of course, they've got fantastic factions and those huge boats too. I mean, you can't say no to the boats. So.
Yes, the galleon in this is just like, oh, it's so gorgeous.
You see, here's the kicker. The galleon we're seeing in the Kickstarter is actually a prototype, so they are still working on adding tons of extra detail to this thing.
Yeah.
So definitely want to look at.
Galleon. If you haven't seen it, we had a Blood and Plunder week where we did a let's play of ship-to-ship battles.
Yeah, that was
fun.
I loved it. Yeah.
Ben, please get a link to the Blood and Plunder week over here on beastofwar.com in the show notes. We'll put it in there. I will do. Yeah. You have to watch a couple of the demo games. That game is just. It's so good, and the ship-to-ship battles is brilliant. It's a great laugh. Right, that's the Kickstarter updates of the ones that you need to watch. But here's a couple of new ones for you as well. So we're kicking off with Last Bullet Games. They're running Circle of Blood. They have about 10 days left. Ben, what can you tell us about it?
Okay, so this is, as you say, Circle of Blood. It's a little bit of a kind of a mix between a little bit of a skirmishing miniatures game, and also there's like a little bit of role-playing going on at the side. And the idea is that you play as heroes and villains from these skirmishing factions that are going into the city known as Gormalak. Now, all the miniatures are 32mm. They're metal miniatures as well. And you can kind of play as these sort of these already established characters, and they're already established guilds in the world called Brotherhoods. So there's either the Freedom Pack or there's the Bloody Brigade, which are the two that are named. And the idea is that you're going to be going through a whole bunch of very narrative-driven scenarios that all tell a little bit of a story as it all sort of worlds together. And as you go through each of these different scenarios, they'll tie and it'll all sort of form a long-running narrative as you go through. It's also got a little bit of that sort of narrative legacy element built into it at the same time. So characters can upgrade, they can get better, they can take wounds and stuff, which is absolutely fantastic. And as I say, it's got almost like a little bit of a role-playing side to it as well. Because one of the really cool things about this is that you don't necessarily just have to play the warbands against each other. You can also play against the game itself and the sort of AI that's sort of been thrown into the mix. And that's where these Gnoll characters come from. And like you can see the likes of the werewolves and the sort of creatures that have been thrown in there too. So what you do is you play as your little war bands of between 3 and 6 characters, and you play against the game itself, and you play against specific scenarios that are driven towards telling a bit more of a cooperative element to the game, which I thought was pretty cool. Because it means that maybe 2 or 3 of you are playing, you don't necessarily have to keep playing all the time against each other and sort of wearing it out. You've got that other aspect of it, which is very, very cool. In terms of gameplay and stuff, it's quite simple to understand. There's a whole bunch of really good sort of how to play videos on their website, but it bases down on sort of activation points and action points, and it's all sort of driven through actions taking either one or many action points to do them. Obviously, the more complicated they are, the more action points they take to do. But it's some really cool, nice, fluid stuff going on in there. Lots of really cool shooting and combat stuff. And their stat lines are very much based around the idea of like role-playing characters.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of depth in there for expansion as you go through, and sort of expanding them in different ways to sort of tailor the kind of play style that you like in particular. So.
Fantastic. Well, like we said, we have 10 days left on that one for the Circle of Blood, so definitely go check it out. Finally, we have one called Stone Days. What are you going to look at this one?
Yeah, so this is by Lior Keenan and Sharon Katz, or Taito Games, and this is a board game for 2 to 4 players, 10 plus, and it can be played around 60 minutes. It's kind of a little bit like sort of programmable movement and stuff going on in this one, which is pretty cool. The idea is that you either play it as 1 versus 1 or as teams of 2 playing against each other, and you're in command of like Stone Age tribes, and the idea is that you're trying to get to their sacred place in order to win, and if you do that, then obviously you win the game and stuff.
The mighty tosser there, Warren.
Yes, I did see the mighty tosser in there. Yeah.
And what you'll do each turn is that each of the different men and women in your clan will have different special abilities, which is pretty cool. You'll plan their movement out on the sort of like a grid-based thing, so you'll be moving across the battlefield, trying to like take them out with special actions and stuff. But then the really cool thing as well that's been put in there is the idea of these clubs. And so these are almost like a little bit like traps that are laid on the board. And so what you do is you lay these clubs out and stuff, and then you reveal them when people move into them. And if a caveman or a cavewoman gets knocked on the head twice, they get knocked out of the game and stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. It's got a nice sort of quirky aspect to it. But as I say, the other big thing in this is that each of the different characters has their own special abilities. So you've got the ability to lay down barricades, you've got traps, you've got ways to scare people off, you've got special attacks and stuff. Maybe some of them throw their clubs in different ways as well to try and hurt the enemy. But it's just sort of like a nice quirky game for you to get stuck into that we work for, you know, families and kids as well, which I thought was really good.
Yeah, and this thing actually just went by there really interests me. These magnetic panels, because there's an element of sort of like secret, as you said, the kind of order control that's kind of kept, and you laying down those clubs. The way they've done it with the magnetic panels is something I've never seen in a game before.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
One of the other big things about this as well is they're trying to get to the point where they can include miniatures as well. So they do have standees, but they're also looking towards potentially adding little plastic miniatures in instead if they get to the certain funding goals and stuff like that later down the line, which I thought was pretty cool. That's sort of like a little bit of an add-on. But I think the game looks really fun. It's really interesting, and I love the whole sort of programmable movement aspect of it, which I thought was fantastic. It's got a little bit of a screw you thing to it too, which I thought was good.
I think the wee meeple-shaped standees are
very
lovely
cool.
anyway.
They are cute,
I love them. Right, well, it's still got 23 days left, so it's still quite early on in the life of Stone Days. So that is your lot. Remember, come on across to beastsofwar.com tomorrow to join us for the XLBS. That's the Weekender all over again, where we get to do our Happy Sundays. It's a very chillaxed, it's a lot of fun, that show. We're going to be talking a bit about longevity within games tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, stay tuned for that. Right, thank you very much for joining us. Remember to drop in your comments on today's topics. We love getting your feedback. And I'm going on holiday now, so I will be leaving you in the capable hands of the rest of the team. And I will see you guys in a couple of weeks, and they will see you next weekend.
Progress comes to a world of magic as science and the arcane combine to make marvels. Meet steampunk inventors and orc mystics at the Volsun Hub on beastsofwar.com. Anime cyberpunk style meets skirmish combat in Infinity. Experience 8 high-tech factions and fight to control the human sphere at the Infinity Hub on beastsofwar.com.